Go.
All right. You got DJ Rudd, the most interested DJ in the world, along with TP, TP Square from the Feel Good Radio Show and the TP Square Show. And today we got a special VIP world renowned guest, Mark Money Green. What up, Money Green?
What's going on? What's going on, man? Thank you for having me.
No doubt, no doubt. Thank you for making the time for us, man. I'm super excited about this conversation we're about to have because I got a chance to look at your one sheet and stuff that I was sent.
Okay.
And when I'm reading it, I was just like in amazement because I realized, you know, we know a lot of the same people, the good people. So that gets me excited. You know what I mean? That gets me excited. You know, all people don't get me excited, but
Right.
some of the client lists got me excited, and it brought back a lot of good memories. You know, we've been around at the block a few times, and before we get deep into it, I gotta say, let's shout out Mike Burrell, you know, for putting this together,
Yep.
and I'm gonna tell you why I knew it was gonna be a great interview. This is off script before we get in, because I gotta tell you this, man.
Okay.
Last time I said this on the air, I got ridiculed for months on this, but I got to tell you because you're gonna bug out on this. When I looked at your forward on your book
Yes.
and your dedication to your father,
Yes.
yeah, that's my father's name. It's
What?
the same as your father's name,
Get out of
and
here.
that's also my middle name.
Wow.
That's also my middle name. I still got my voice in book. They call me Albert. Once I said that my full name is Kenneth Albert Rudd.
Oh my
And
goodness.
my father's name is Albert Rudd. And when I saw that, I said, "Oh, it's gonna be a great conversation." Because what's the chances of that right there? Right?
That's crazy because I was like, I had never met anybody else named Albert until I ran into Swiss Beats. And I think his father or his uncle was named Albert.
Now, I
And
never met nobody else named that besides
yeah.
my father. So when I saw that, I was like, "Well, like they still call my father Eddie. Nobody even
Wow.
calls him Albert." And it's kind of just funny. I just said when I saw that, I said, "This is gonna be a great conversation right
Okay.
there." I already
Okay.
knew it was gonna be a great conversation right there. But as I continue to to read the information, I do a little homework before I get on these conversations. And
Oh,
man, I gotta say, man, it's an honor to do this interview with a legend like you. You're a legend in the game, man. You know, we want to give you flowers. We like to give them to people while they can smell them. You know what I mean?
I
Yes, sir.
appreciate it. I
Yes,
appreciate it.
sir. So listen, tell the readers where you from and what you wanted to know initially about you.
All right. Well, I grew up in Jersey.
All right.
You know, I think I've been in every aspect of this game, from agent to road manager to record company executive to a performing arts general manager to theater manager. So I have my hands in everything. I like to say that I'm a jack and a master of everything.
All right. So we
That's
call that
pretty
on
good.
the East Coast. We call New Jersey New Jerusalem. So
Yeah, there
when
you
we say
go.
New Jerusalem, for the worldwide listeners, New Jerusalem means New Jersey.
That's right.
That's for the listenership.
Yes,
You
sir.
know, another reason I got excited that I saw that you was a DJ because that's how I got started too. I was DJing and stuff, and I still do parties, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So talk to me about your experience with that.
man. It all started like in the early '70s. I had a band called Black Pearl, and we were always doing all the events around town, and cocktail sips, weddings and parties like that. And as we got closer into the mid '70s, around '75, '76, all the funk bands started fading out, and the DJs started coming in with the disco era. So that became like, that was a thing that everybody was like, oh, everybody wanted to be a DJ. I had all the equipment in my basement from the band, and I finally hooked up my turntables to the speakers and got in there and started practicing day and night and did my first show was at a high school. And from that point on, the shows just kept coming. They just kept coming on and on and on.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I had not the same experience, but it was similar. My father did support me on the mission.
Hmm.
Like when I was 14, he brought me equipment. You
Right,
know, it wasn't nothing fancy, but it was a start. You
right.
know, and I think his intent was just to keep us out the street, is keep us out of trouble. And he had no idea that this thing was going to take off. Or, this little rat thing
Yeah.
was going to take off. He thought it was just a phase we was going through. But I grew up with the Fat Boys. Those were my friends. Like
Oh,
we went to the same area.
I was on tour with them.
Okay, well,
My first show,
shout out
SWAT
to
Watch
them.
tour.
Well, shout out to them. Rest in peace, Prince Marky, you and
Yes.
Pete Box, Darren. Cool Rock
Talk
still
about it
around.
in the, talk
Thank
about it in the
goodness.
book.
But those are my guys. Like I traveled and part with them too. And that was my first look at seeing somebody really make any money DJ. You
Yep.
know what I mean? And just doing music and stuff like that. So that was my first experience at it. But what gave you the initial push to do it?
Well, again, like just seeing all the DJs on TV and stuff. Once I started DJing and I started building a name for myself, I was approached by a promoter who asked me if I would like to be in the Battle of the DJs in the Bronx. I was 1977. I was in 11th grade. I said, sure. So I drove over there at night, and it was three crews, myself and two other people. So I was the first person up. I'm DJing, doing my thing. Had about 75 people there. And then the next crew started. But they had some guys on the mic talking or something. So by that time, I shut down my set. I had about 12 people just standing there, listening. And I wanted to see what was going on the other side. So I shut down my set, walked over there, and I heard these guys talking some mess on the mic. And I was like, dang, what is this? And before they could finish, the next crew started with about three other guys. So that night, man, I was so excited about what I heard. I ran home, wrote my own rap. And that following weekend, I became ghetto famous. I was doing the project gigs, and all of a sudden, a high school friend of mine, we grew up. He was a freshman, I was a junior. His name was Guy O'Brien. So he came and he said, "Yo, Mark, what is that you doing?" I said, "They calling it rapping. It's over in the city." And he was amazed by what was going on. So later on, I guess probably about a year later, I had went to college. And he called me up and said, "Yo, man, we making a record." I said, "What do you mean we making a record?" He said, "Yeah, off of Good Times, because back then everybody was mixing with Good Times."
Definitely.
And so when he told me, the next thing I knew, the record came out. It was called Rapper's Delight. His name was
Mm.
Master G, and he's the guy who I went to high school with. And to this day, he gives me credit for introducing him to that art form. And he actually did the forward in the book, and we're still great friends today.
That's dope, man. That's a dope part of your story. I actually read that too. I wasn't gonna give away too much of your book. You know what I mean? I know, the readers got to read it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I like that part of the story too, man. And I never knew that.
You know,
That's the thing. It's a lot of guys like yourself that was working behind the scenes. Maybe he wasn't the the front man all the time, but man,
but I got to give a shout out to him and also Jaquan, because this all started, when I went to college, I was telling people nobody believed me, and I have no proof, By the
right.
time I got to school, everybody was DJing and rapping, at least from up north. So one day, I guess G was doing an interview with Jaquan, and he kept talking about a guy who put him on. And finally, Jaquan was like, "Well, who's the guy?" And then he mentioned my name. And from that point on, he just started doing interviews saying, I was the guy who introduced him to hip hop, to rapping. So, shout out to Master G.
Shout out to Master G. That's an amazing part of that story, man.
Yes.
That's that's another. I mean, that's just. I'm telling you, when I was just looking at the book and looking at your bio and everything, I was like, wow. I actually even went to your website. I looked at your client list and stuff, and it was incredible, man. I would like to say before we get into the book, which we're gonna get into,
Yeah.
I just want to know, like, this question is gonna lead to the book. What was some of your biggest obstacles? Because I like the part I heard that you kind of turned a situation that was lemons into lemonade. So I like you to inspire us with that story.
Yeah, I mean, it was a few of those situations, because we came up in a different time than it is today. You know, hip hop has actually changed how we do business. They changed the world, really, not just business, fashion, marketing, sales, everything. And during the time when we were coming up, you know, I came up in the drug area. It was the 80s, you know, crack cocaine, you know, everybody was getting high. And there were a lot of challenges with that along the way. I talk about this in my book. I talk about the tours, the people that we were on tour with, and all the things. But one thing people don't understand was back in the day, when we started going out here making this little bit of money, you know, people, we got paid after the show. Like, none of this you get paid before you go on. You literally got paid after the show. Now, the one thing people don't understand was back then, and this is how I got my name, but back then, the only people that really got paid that was, you know, guaranteed to get paid was the opening act and the headliner. You know, the promoter would pay those two people. He'd pay the guy to get started and pay the headliner. After that, he'd disappear. So anybody else in between got caught holding the bag, an empty one at that, you know? So because you had no way to get in touch with the promoter. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have computers. We didn't have beepers. You know, you had a pay phone. If you knew his number, you would try to call him. But 9 out of 10, those guys was all hustlers. They were con artists, drug dealers. I mean, they were all street guys. So a lot of guys early on in the game never got paid.
You know, I have to co-sign everything you just said, man, because me and you around the same age, and I was trying to do the same thing.
Right.
I remember going down. We performed on a military base. We was at Fort Bragg or whatever. At the end, we looking for the guy, or whatever, like all of that stuff. But when I became a more accomplished and started learning the game, I was lucky enough to do opening for Nelly. So I used to open. You're right. We would get paid to open the act and Nelly. Right. Anybody else, it was a hit or miss. It depends on if the person made enough money to pay everybody. And a lot of things that was going on in the South, especially, they would put like names like Roxanne Shante on the bill and all, and these people weren't performing. They didn't even show up. They were just making flyers up.
Yep.
Well, when we started really doing shows, we had to come in town like 2 days before and show our face in the main events, the clubs, and then they say, "Oh, they really here."
Right.
Other than that, nobody would come to the events because there was so much scamming. Like you said, it was exactly how you described it just now. It's amazing.
Yeah. You know, and then after that, hip hop came in. They was like, listen, yeah, we're not going on until we get our money, and we want our money before we even get to the gig. And as an agent, that became a problem for me because now I'm responsible for the money. Suppose you don't show up. That promoter's coming after me. He ain't coming after you because he sent me the money. And in the book, you will read this happen a few times, and not even and with people that you know. You know, I do mention a couple of the artists that put me in danger because I got gangsters coming from Brazil looking for me, from Chile, you know, from different places because those artists didn't show up once they got their money. And I talk about the book. I talk about, you know, I got my 12 street I guess rules to the game, and one of them is you got to be a paper gangster. If you ain't one, you better hire one, because at the end of the day, that contract protected me quite a few times from not being sued. You know, so it's definitely one of the street things you need to know in this game.
Nah, I appreciate that, and I'm sure any up and coming artists listening appreciate this too, man. This is all free game. It's coming from the man himself, man. I mean, you had a lot of experience in this stuff, and I'm telling you, you're bringing back a lot of memories. Some of them bad because I was on the short end of the stick on some of those deals, but it was just like growing pains. It just was like part of the game. And everybody says it. I listened to a Snoop Dogg interview and he said, "Hey, my whole first 2 albums, I wasn't even getting the money and stuff. Nobody was really getting it until they figured the game out." You know?
No, and you have to realize also in the '80s, we talking street gangsters, and I bring up this one situation in the book. I talk about when I was on the road with the Boogie Boys, and I went to get my money, and the promoter said, I ain't paying you till you go on. I said, nah, we the opening act. I'm not going on till I get paid. He said, all right, come on in the back. I'll give you your money. As soon as I went back there, he reached in his back. He pulled out a 357 Magnum and put it to my forehead and said, I don't give a F if you from New York. You in Ohio now, nigga. You gonna play that music.
Wow.
And one of my rules to the game, and I let everybody know, it ain't where you from, it's where you at. Because everybody wants to say, I'm from Chicago, I'm from the Bronx, I'm from Harlem. But when you're in another city or state, nobody cares. And that's what my first rule I learned on the road.
That's
You got
I'm co-signing everything you're saying, man.
because you're coming from the New York area, we think we know everything. Nobody can run no game on us. Let me tell you something, bro. I traveled to 46 states, and you got some of the smartest hustling guys from Birmingham, Alabama to Huntsville, Alabama. These guys. The only difference between them and us is they smile in your face while they got their hands in your pocket. You know.
Nah, it was a very serious issue back then.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God for people like you that was diffusing and de-escalating a lot of situations that probably could have went the other way. You know what I mean? Thank you for that. Um, the Fat Boys had the same experience even when they started out, they in these little hole in the walls. We were their security, right? Your friends. But once we had legal guns also and illegal guns. We had correction officers, cops. We had a solid team.
Right.
But as soon as we started going out of abroad or out of state, these guys are only legal to carry their gun in New York.
That's right.
So we had to only take like one or two of the core team, and we had to reach out to other municipalities and put their team on. And these are total strangers. And you already know some of the worst scenarios in that what happened. Two of our greatest, hip hop artists was out there based on other people's trust and security. And these gangsters have cops on the payroll too. That's what I don't think they were processing that part when they were making this plan. But I'm glad it's a little different now, and these guys can travel with you and all that stuff. It makes a world of difference when it comes to your safety, man. Because when you in these other, like you said, when in Rome, do as Romans do, man.
Yep.
I gotta give you credit, man, because everybody that I spoke to that was on that list. Look, I say this all the time: your talent can get you in the door, but only your character can keep you in the room. And on what these guys told me, your character kept you in the room in a lot of these spaces, man. And that's what I like people to know too. It's not just music, anywhere, whatever you're doing. Right. It's just kind of like a life lesson, man. I appreciate you for being that guy. Let's get into the book, man. The show must go on.
That's
right. About that, man.
Say that one more time.
I said I want to talk to you about the book.
Yeah. Let's do it.
So the show must go on.
The show must go on.
Talk to me about that, man.
Well, I wrote this book, and I started thinking about all the episodes and everything that I kind of dealt with, and I decided to kind of make a somewhat of a manual to help the younger people understand the game, understand what's happening in the past and how that can influence or help you going forward in the future. So in the book, you're going to hear different stories of different artists that I work with, different situations. There's some funny stuff in there. There's some lessons to be learned. There's all different scenarios that you can't even believe that happened while I was on the road. And then also dealing as a manager, I managed Grandmaster Flash for 2 decades. I managed Dave Hollister, SWV. So you're going to hear some of the stories there. So the book, everybody has read the book, said they can't stop. They can't put it down because it's just a page turner for them. And I'm just happy to be able to present this book and let people understand my story.
Well, I didn't get to the entirety, but I had to hit here and there because I didn't have time to read the whole thing. But I did catch that same feeling. I was stuck in it, and I'm telling you, it took me as a constant reminder of my journey. And I think it just goes to show that if you don't quit, if you don't quit, that was the most important thing I saw in that book. That's right. You learned it on the football field, but wherever you learned it, it's the same message. Don't quit.
And you You can't
You
take
can't lose unless you quit.
yeah. And you can't take menial jobs for granted, because I talk about in my book, listen, and you know, this game, there's no loyalty to anybody. You know, this is a young man's game. You in it, and you in it as long as you can stay in it. But you got to continue to recreate and reinvent yourself, because the game changes, but the players change, but the game is still the same. But it just moves into a different variation of what's out there now. So in my book, I talk about, hey, listen, you know what? I went from being out of work, putting posters up and down Harlem and Manhattan, 3, 4 in the morning. But I was determined to stay in the game. I was determined not to give up. I had things I wanted to do. And in my mind, it was just a small setback. I knew in my mind, this is just something temporary that I can overcome. I just got to do it. I didn't care what people thought about. I didn't care that, you know, some of my friends might see me doing whatever I had to do to make it happen. But at the end, I'm the one who won, because not only did I reinvent myself by doing different jobs, but each job helped me for the next job.
Nah, that's a dope lesson, man. And I want to say a few words. I would say a key word, and I want you to tell me where that takes you.
Oh my goodness.
Let's start with the Hip Hop Museum. I want you to speak on the importance of that, and you know, what's your role there?
Okay, so my role, I am the chairman of artist relationships, and basically I deal with all the celebrities when it comes time for events, or come time to get them to help us with content or help us, you know, do anything with the museum. And you know, my take on this is that I really would like to get some of the younger artists involved in the museum and make them understand the importance of this history, because you know, they don't understand, you know, that this is the history, this is your legacy. All these guys out here making 100, 200,000 a show, you know, donate some of that money to the museum. Open up your section, bring your wardrobe in there, bring something to the museum, because at the end, not only is it a tax write-off for you, but you're giving back. You're giving back to the museum. You know what I mean? You're giving back to history. You're giving back to the culture. So that's my take.
Nah, I mean, thank you for that, because look, that's very important too, man. Like they erasing our history.
Absolutely.
So anything that we could document, that's part of the reason why I got into radio. I never really had a desire to do it, but sometimes God just got your steps when you're not thinking about it. You know what I mean? And an opportunity presented itself, and this was 10 years ago we started this.
Yeah.
And we didn't know a pandemic was coming or anything, but we already had been in business almost 5 years when that happened.
Right.
So I didn't know much about broadcasting come in, but I knew I had a friend that had a broadcasting degree. Right. That's the guy who put us together, and you know, I knew I could have a sit down and pick his brain, and take it from there. And you know, we kind of actually did better during the pandemic than we were doing. It was more opportunities for us.
Right.
Nobody wanted to come to the station. They forced us to do what we're doing now. Like we learned technology. I would have never did this if there was no pandemic. I'd have been like, I'm gonna send him a car. We're gonna bring him to the radio station. Mike, you come in with him, and you know, everything was done like that.
Right.
But this new technology, I could stay in my office, you in your office, and my partner was at home apparently. So that's what it is. So my next thing, the Lehman Center, what's going on over there? And you know, what do you got going on with the Lehman Center? What are they doing in the community?
Well, the Lehman Center is basically the performing arts theater. We have 2,300 seat theater. But for that theater, we do mostly Latin shows. You know, hopefully this year we're going to try to bring some more R&B shows in there. We do one hip hop show every year. Sal Abatala brings in the old school hip hop, and we do that every year. But yeah, we would like to try to develop that and get some more R&B stuff in there. But again, that was just one thing that I accomplished, you know, by being out of work and just, you know, getting out here researching and doing my thing. You know, at the end of the day, no matter what, the show must go on.
The show must go on. I love it. All right. Quick words.
Yeah.
Virginia State University.
All right.
Yeah, let's get to it now. Yeah.
The best times of my life.
All right, okay.
Yes. It's so funny because, he was there, I think when I was leaving, he came in. Aaron Hall, his brother Damien was there. You got DOS Effects. They went to Virginia State. There's quite a few people from Virginia that went to Virginia State that's in the music business. But
Yeah, that's dope, man. I like that part of the book too, when you were talking about that.
Oh yeah,
And that DOS Effects thing, I love DOS Effects, but they were my nemesis when I was shopping my material.
right,
And God bless the dead, Clark Kent was my friend.
right.
And he was the A&R at Atlantic, I think, at that time I was shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to see him with my stuff, and my stuff was hot.
Right.
And he said, I like that, bro. He said, but listen to this. He put DOS Effects in. It was like that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I spent my whole life on the track, and they just said that. He said, but it's different, right? You can't deny it. I was like, you know what? It is dope. It is dope, and that goes to show you. A lot of times, what we think is the hottest thing, the world might catch on to the stuff. We like, how did that happen?
Exactly.
But DOS Effects was on every label I went shopping. His stuff was there, and everybody thought it was different, and they pushed it. Right. And salute to them because it was different than anything else that was going on at the time.
Yeah, man.
So the next thing, Sugar Hill.
Sugar Hill.
That's the key word now. Sugar Hill.
Man, oh my goodness. The crazy thing is, I used to ride past that studio when I was a kid and just go by there and take photos. Back then it was called All Platinum. And finally, after I pretty much did my thing doing the music, I was approached by Jerry Bledsoe. He was a DJ on WWRL. He had a TV show called Solar Lies. So he had heard about me doing, rapping in the area. He asked me to come on the show to be the first rapper. So that kind of enhanced my game in terms of DJing. And so when Guy told me he was making that record, I came home that summer and I was asking him about trying to get in there. He helped me get in the door. And I sat there for every day for like 2 weeks waiting to see Mr. Robinson because I was determined to get a job there. I finally got to see him. I got a job as an intern there. And I was there during the making of some of these great records that you heard. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I finally, we developed our friendship there. Grandmaster Flash, The Sequence, Melly Mel. I knew all these guys in the beginning.
All right. Next word, Hush Productions.
Oh, wow.
Now we get to it. Hush Productions. Scotty Hush, talk to me.
Yeah, that was probably after meeting Melba Moore and finally got to Hush, that was like the really beginning of my career. I got a chance to go on the road with Lilo Thomas, was my first artist. And there was some crazy episodes there I talk about in the book. And no matter what you read, at the end of the day, you know what happens. The show must go on. Melba Moore, I got to work with her, Freddie Jackson, Najee, Lisa Morgan, Ray Goodman and Brown, Alex Bouillon, Kashif, on and on and on. And we were considered at that time, like the new Motown because we had all the artists, all the hits. And that was really the beginning and the takeoff of my career.
That I like that part of the book too. The book is amazing. Whoever looks,
oh my goodness,
the book, you gotta read it, guys. I'm not saying this because my man is in there. I'm saying it's a good book, and anybody can relate. You don't even really have to be in the music industry to enjoy the book. It's just a good book.
Yeah, you're gonna hear some crazy stories, and I'm telling you. When I look back at some of these stories and I said, man, and I think about how I was able to overcome a lot of the difficult things that happened, and I think about I was only 25 and I'm in charge of 15, 20, 30 people. And I'm on the road and I'm dealing with all kinds of issues. And when I say issues, everything you can think of is in that book, And I think about just, I give thanks to God because I'm glad I'm still here.
And I'm so happy that too, man. I'm happy you're here. I'm still happy I'm here. I'm doing meditations every morning, saying thank you. I'm trying to think of what I'm grateful for instead of what shortcomings that I have, And you still got a lot to offer the game. You know, guys like us, the young kids don't always respect us. They say, "Oh, somebody called me an OG the other day," and I first was insulted. Then I was like, you know what? That's a badge of honor. He was like,
Right.
OG, it ain't like it was when you was coming up.
Right.
I'm like, OG, what? I'm old now. I said, okay, but I have to accept that. And you know,
right? You know how hard it is to stay in the game. I mean, again, this is a young man's game. Look at us. We have that age where we got grandkids and everything, and we still in here. We still here.
But it's kind of because of the business and your character that kept you here.
Yeah.
One of the greatest radio people, man, Frankie Crocker. If he isn't on your radio, then your radio ain't on. Talk to me about that, man.
Oh my goodness.
Let's get
great story in the book about Frankie Crocker. I don't want to say anything. I want people to go out and get it.
Right.
Because, you know, once again, I mean, let me tell you something. I can't begin to tell you some of the things I dealt with on the road and just recently when even at Lehman, we were doing a show and the guy died on stage while he was performing.
Oh man.
And what do you think happened? They dragged him to the side, and what else? The show went on.
Wow.
Show went on.
Wow.
So I'm telling you, when you read the book, you're gonna find all kinds of things that happen. At the end of the day, the show must go on because people don't care. They don't care about anything else. They come to see the show. And no matter what happens, that show gotta go on.
That's true, man. And that's unfortunate, man. And it happens in sports too. It happens football. Yeah. That's the concept. Next man up. Somebody get hurt.
That's it.
Right. Next man up.
Yeah.
And you gotta continue the game. The show must go on. This book is so much of a life lesson. Like I'm probably gonna finish it tonight. When we finish, but I'm telling you, I was engaged in it. I was very engaged in it, and especially that I have some, you know, familiarity in this circle.
Uh-huh.
But what you're doing, and everybody at Double Exposure, like shout y'all out, man, because you know I met some of the other guys. Like everybody has a skill set, and it's a great circle of guys that's on the team that you have access to, and that's part of the jewel too. You know, you're only as good as who you surround yourself with. If you don't have to know everything, but you got to know how to find out.
That's right. That's right.
That's it. You don't got to know everything, but you got to know how to find out.
Right.
You know. So tell them how they could get the book and where they could contact you or where they could how to get on your website or just
so you can get the book on Amazon or you can go to Barnes and Noble or you go to my website markmoneygreen.com. You can order it from there. You can find me on Instagram on Celebrity Talent Inc., on Facebook Celebrity Talent Agency, and you can reach out to me on those two platforms.
All right. Well, what we're gonna do on behalf of the radio station, we're gonna create a little real estate for you on our website.
Oh wow!
Like over 1 million people a month going to that website. We're gonna put the link to your site where they could just go see the book and stuff like that.
Yes.
We're gonna continue to support, however we can on our end, man. And hopefully I'll be in a room with you one day and I'll shake your hand in person.
Yes.
But man, this was a pleasure. And you're always welcome. When you want to do a part 2,
okay.
Come in anytime.
All right. I appreciate you.
Well, what's next before you jump on? What's next? I know something's already cooking.
Listen, I talk about this in the book too. For the last 15 years, I had made a decision in my life to always learn something different, learn something new. So I decided to just learn different things and get certificates for them. So I've got everything from a black belt and martial arts. I got COVID-19 compliance manager. I got events safety manager, gun license manager, CPR, anything to show that I'm doing something to keep myself active. Last year was doing this book. I said, I'm going to do a book. And this was the last thing that I did. This year coming up, I don't know what it's going to be, but it's definitely going to be something.
Well, that's a lot, and not saying too much, but some of those things you mentioned, I'm doing a little of that too. But
Yeah, man.
that's why I knew this was going to be a good conversation, man. And
Yes.
I'm enjoying it. It's anyone you want to shout out or anything you want to say in closing?
Double Exposure. I want to shout them out, for helping me here. Erica, who co-wrote the book with me. Erica Williams, I'm gonna shout her out, and also my fraternity Omega Psi Phi, who helped me get to where I am.
I was going to ask you about. I thought you was going to mention that Greek affiliation when I said Virginia State, but
Right.
yeah, that was part of that journey too, right?
Yes, sir. Roof
Yes,
to the
sir.
bones.
All of those things help, man. All of these
All of them help,
affiliations
bro.
man.
Yes.
Shout out to the Divine Nine, man.
There
Shout
you
out
go.
to the
There you go.
Yeah, dope, man. So listen, we're gonna close out this segment. Like I said, I'm sure when I finish reading the book, I might have to reach back out to your team and see if we can have another conversation.
Definitely.
But I don't want to tell them all the book. Y'all gotta support. You gotta buy the book. We ain't giving it all away for free now.
The show must go on.
There'll be a link on the website by the weekend, and go to Amazon. Wherever you gotta go, just get the book. It's on all major platforms.
Yes.
Mark Money Green.
Yes, sir. DJ Brad, I appreciate
It's a pleasure, brother. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. And I appreciate your time, man. That's the most valuable thing you could give somebody is your time, man. So thank you for that. And listen, I'll see you soon, brother.
All right.
All right.
Good night.
Peace.
All right, peace.